And you can see the fact that I wrote video games regularly and the fact that I wrote Mickey Mouse got me to write the Epic Mickey 2 video game for Disney about 2 years ago. A lot of the characters of mine that have gone on to TV, there's a lot more. In fact, at this point, I could actually change this to 3 Cat Grants, because Callista Flockhart is playing Cat Grant in the new Supergirl TV show. And it's sort of amazing, so many of the actors, so many of the characters have been taken on by many, many different actors. And some of them, you know, it's a thrill to see it that way. Books that I've written, though I have to add to this too, the new Batman Arkham Knight book that came out last week is the latest novel that I've written. I've also written game rides, movies, strips, etc., and that's why I now look like that.
Question? Yeah, any comments or questions?
Any? Yes.
As a creator of various comics, I'm curious what your thoughts are on certain adaptations of your work.
Say that.
What are your thoughts on the adaptations of your comic work?
Oh, that other writers?
That other adaptations of the media, you mean?
The media? Or other comics writers?
Like as in movies and TV shows and
Oh, it's really interesting because I'm of the belief that as long as they stay within the concept of a character, that's fine. I don't worry about it. It's a different medium. It doesn't change the material that I've done. So I really can like it, even if someone else may not. I love what they did with Deathstroke on Arrow. I thought he was absolutely perfect. Manu Bennett really got what the character was about, and I thought he was great. There's been 3 different people who have played Cat Grant, and 2 of them were written to be pretty much some version of Cat that I had written. The 3rd one didn't resemble her at all, but on the other hand, she was the only one who had a kid. So, which Cat Grant did in my original stories. So you always can find something. I really like the first series of Teen Titans cartoons. The second one's for a very young audience, so it's a type of humor I don't get, but I know how much that the kids love that show. It is the most popular show on the Cartoon Network. So you got to say, okay, it's not written for me, but people are loving it. And you can accept it like that. And I look at it, the first Blade movie I thought was perfect. I was on the set of the film, and I loved it there. So the second one I thought was a very good vampire story, but not necessarily a strong Blade story. And the 3rd one was just for kids. I mean, it was a family-driven story rather than the darkness of the first Blade. So I can enjoy a lot of it as long as they stay somewhat close. If they don't, then I don't pay attention to it.
Anybody else?
Some more questions? Yes.
Do we want us to approach the mic, or does it matter?
I'm sorry. Please stand up or come
Yeah, that was part of the question. Just big fan of both you guys. Well, one of my favorite arcs that you wrote was the search for Galactus near the end of your Fantastic Four run, which involved Galactus and the Xandar Skrull War. And the Skrull Xandar War sort of just disappears. Did you have plans to revisit that that never happened due to your departure from Marvel at the time?
Yeah. Once I left Marvel, I wasn't going to be coming back at any time soon, so anything that I was planning to do had to just ended at that particular point, and nobody there picked it up. I never wrote, since I always plotted my material way in advance, I never wrote anything that wasn't going to pay off at some point, but I didn't always get the chance to do it. One would have hoped, and sometimes I remember it, sometimes I don't. In the case of that one, to be honest, I don't remember the story at all. I had to go read it recently because I signed some copies of it, and I went, okay, I forget what this story's about. Let me read this one. Some stories, I can remember way back, but for some reason that one I couldn't.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Some more? No?
I've got some questions.
Okay, good.
I've got some time. I was reading in your bio that your dad is a New York City cop.
Yeah, my father was a policeman in Coney Island.
So how did that affect your career, your
I don't
what you
know.
write, how you write it?
I actually don't know. I never analyzed it. I try not to.
Sorry, what?
No. I try not to think about where things come from when I work because I don't want to be locked into a certain thinking process, and I always try to vary up where things come from. I'm sure it must have. I just can't think of it.
Come home with interesting stories.
Yeah, and there was a gun in the house in Brooklyn, you know, and I grew up with that, but the bullets were never in the same drawer. I have no idea where those were. But outside of that, it didn't make any difference. I didn't notice anything. I visited the precinct a couple of times because it was in Coney Island, which was a big amusement park area in Brooklyn. But he stopped being a policeman about the time I was 12, early 13, and worked for the government, and that's when we moved from Brooklyn to Flushing, Long Island, and which is where the World's Fair was, and the Mets, and all of that sort of stuff. But I honestly don't know. I've never given it much thought.
It seems to be working for you, so.
Yeah.
And you work directly with Stan Lee, right?
Yeah.
I know you have some funny stories about working with Stan. What did you learn from working with Stan?
Well, the first thing is, I think the world is found. He was the sharpest person I've ever worked with. He knew inside and out everything that had to be done. I'd be puzzling over a question about something, and I'd walk into the office and ask it to him, and he'd have the answer within a second. It was absolutely the right one. There was almost nothing that you couldn't ask him. He was very easy to talk with, a lot of fun. He helped save my career 3 times. I told him the story at his birthday party, and I was one of the speakers. And of course, he had no idea that he did any of this stuff, but he did. And through specifics, one example is on one of the early issues. I was an assistant editor at Marvel, and one of the early issues of Tomb of Dracula, which Gene Colan did a phenomenal job drawing this fishing village. It was vital to the story. It was beautiful. It was one of the most gorgeous art jobs I'd ever seen. And it came back inked, and the inker, whose initials were Vinnie Coletta, eliminated all the backgrounds. He just didn't bother inking them. He blacked them over. And I went through the roof. And I had just started at Marvel on staff. I had been writing for a while, but I had just started on staff. And I didn't know any of the procedure, and I didn't know how to handle it quietly and professionally. But I complained like bitterly about it. And I get a phone call at night saying, Stan wants to see you first thing in the morning. And I go into the office, and Vinnie Coletta's there, and he's bad-mouthing me for saying this. He said, I would never eliminate the backgrounds, I would never do this. And I said, and Stan looked at me and said, what's going on? Did you do this? And I said, wait a second, Stan. I walked into my office, and I had Xeroxes of the originals. Now, you have to understand, Vinnie was one of Stan's closest friends, as well as somebody who had saved Marvel on schedule a million times, because it's very fast. Sloppy, awful, but very fast. Probably because he eliminates that